Hey there, what's happening? Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day on this Thursday, December 5th of 2024. A lot to get into here this afternoon, and here is the 49ers Report Rundown, segment number one. The players on this roster who San Francisco needs to play more in order to evaluate them to see if they can be a part of this core team moving forward, looking ahead into 2025. I'm also going to go through every single reason why this 2024 season has been a disaster for San Francisco. We'll preview this game going up against the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams coming to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, and we will round out with the mailbag. I want to hear from you, and I want to chop it up with the faithful. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Producer Chip on the ones and twos, and we have people rocking with us from every pocket of America and worldwide. Today's poll question is this: how would you grade the Niners season so far? A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know down in the comment section. We'll start to give you some shout-outs as people get that notification and they start to hop on board and join the program. Also, the poll question in the chat right now, should the Niners tank? We are very even. 50% yes, 50% no. Continue to get your votes in there. Pete Herrera, D. Ken Dowslin, F. The Sentinels Football Channel, D. Carlos Valencia, D. A.K. Frost, D. Robert Mora, D. T. Pierce Vlogs, F. C- from Joanna. So I'm doing this to really gauge the temperature of this fan base, and a lot of people are fired up and fed up. Looking ahead to Sunday, Week 14, getting underway tonight with an awesome matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. It has NFC North playoff implications and NFC playoff implications. The Niners on Sunday, during this Week 14 schedule, will be hosting the Chicago Bears, and we'll be live right here on the channel. Niners-Bears watch party. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications by hitting that bell icon. Therefore, anytime we go live, anytime we push out a show, you will be notified. San Francisco, the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. Frequently, we're going over 100,000 views on our watch parties, so you get to hang out with the entire Niner gang worldwide. The Niners, 4-point favorites in this football game. They've been back-to-back underdogs for the first time in several years. On the road against the Packers, 38-10 loss. On the road against Buffalo, 35-10 loss. So can San Francisco end this three-game losing streak? The over-under at 43.5, and that game set to get underway at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, 1:25 p.m. Pacific. It's Thursday, which means it's almost Friday, I should say. So let's have some fun here on the show. All Super Chats will get a shout-out this afternoon. Every $50 that we get in total, I am going to chug out of my Niners mug. If we get $100 total, I will do 100 jumping jacks. If somebody wants a 49ers Report hat, send me a Venmo at Chase_Senior. $100, I'm sending you a hat. I'm sending you sunglasses. I'm sending you a bottle opener. A Chat Sports pack is coming your way if you send me that Venmo at Chase_Senior. And if we get to $200 in total Super Chats, I'm doing a beer boot. Where are you watching from? We're coming to you live from Studio H in the Chat Sports studios, but where are you? As is always the case, people are rocking and rolling with us from everywhere. I'm talking across America and worldwide, across the Atlantic Ocean, across the Pacific Ocean, down in Mexico, up in Canada, in Europe, in Asia. People are always supporting this program, and what we do wouldn't be possible without all of you. Samuel Crosby is in Dayton, Ohio. A.K. Frost, Alaska. That's pretty cool. Annapolis, Maryland from Maurice. New York from Gamer Dude. What's up, Gamer Dude? Tom, Dallas, Texas. Tustin, California from Joanna. Wild Child, California. I see another New York. Ontario, Canada. Texas from Tom. Springfield, Missouri. Canyon Country from Carlos. I told you people were watching from everywhere. Laredo, Duval, New Jersey. Adelanto, Alameda, South Dakota, Los Angeles. So cool. It's an honor to be your host here today and every single day. It's also an honor to partner up with some great sponsors. The first one, our friends at Game Time, the best app in the ticketing marketplace. If you want the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed, download the Game Time app. Prices drop as the event gets closer. You get flash deals and zone deals. And right now, when you download the app and create an account and you use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, you get $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. If you want to go to Bears Niners coming up on Sunday, plenty of tickets available at Levi's Stadium. And our other sponsor, Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. More than 10 million active members. Billions of dollars handed out in awarded winnings. And right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Pick more, pick less. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Both those links for Game Time and Prize Picks are available right now down in the comment section and in the show notes of today's live program. We have about 230 people watching live, only 42 likes. So as you come in here, please make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and you like the video. We will be doing a mailbag for segment number 4. So if you have a question for me, if you have a question about the Niners, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. And if you're ready to start the show, I need you to support the program. Smash that thumbs up icon, like the video. You see Chip right above me. He's hitting that thumbs up icon. I need you to do that as well. And if you're frustrated with how things have gone this year for the Niners, take your frustration out on that thumbs up icon. We have a loaded show that is about to get underway. 4 segments coming up. The first of which players on this Niners team need to play more during this 5-week evaluation period throughout the rest of the regular season. And if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. Chip is ready to go. So let's officially start today's live San Francisco 49ers report right now. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers report. My name is Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Here's what we have coming up. I'm going to go through several players who the 49ers have to play the rest of the season because right now, with the Niners being 5-7, probably not making the playoffs, we are in the evaluation phase. But last weekend and all year, really, been watching a lot of college football, but I'm bringing this question up right now because last week was rivalry weekend throughout college football. This week is conference championship weekend. We have a bunch of great matchups coming your way on Saturday. So today's poll question is this. Show me that you know ball. Who wins the CFP national title? The top 4 teams right now, Oregon Ducks, Texas Longhorns, Penn State Nittany Lions, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. If Texas plays up to their capabilities, I think they win the national championship because I think they're the most complete team in all of college football. All right, let's get the show underway. It is time for the Niners to evaluate this roster and see who can be a member and contributor for this team in 2025 and beyond. And so with that, some veterans can take a seat because I don't need to see them any longer. It's time for me to start evaluating this team to see which young players are actually dudes. And it's time for the Niners to do the same. So, player number 1 who needs to play more is Ben Bartch at left guard over Aaron Banks, the former second-round pick out of Notre Dame. Ben Bartch played extremely well against the Buffalo Bills. His technique was very sound. He was very physical in the run and pass game. He was not overwhelmed by a pretty good Buffalo defensive front and a very well-coached Buffalo team. And he hadn't gotten a lot of action this year at all for San Francisco, has gotten some playing time in the past with a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars. But number 78, live, we talked about it during the watch party, was playing really good football, laying some good blocks. Then when I went back and watched the tape, I was very impressed. And his numbers against the Bills, according to Pro Football Focus, were very solid. Overall PFF grade of 78, a pass blocking grade of 71.2, run blocking grade of 75.5. He didn't give up a sack, didn't give up a hit, and this offensive line has been a problem all year and only gave up 1 pressure of quarterback Brock Purdy. Aaron Banks is going to be a free agent, and so far this year, he's really disappointed me in a contract year. He's been way too inconsistent. And just because he's played well in the past and at moments this year, not taking that away from him, there are so many teams across the NFL who are going to be starved for offensive linemen. Aaron Banks could get paid by another team. And so it's time for the Niners to see if Ben Bartch can take over for him for a pretty discounted rate. Change number 2, and this involves a couple of different players here. I want to see the Niners give more snaps, more targets, and more throws thrown in the direction of Ricky Pearsall, first-round pick from April's NFL draft, and then the 4th-round pick in Jacob Cowing out of Arizona, which could mean that Deebo Samuel gets less snaps, but I'm fine with that. Deebo Samuel is having the worst year of his professional career. The tackle-breaking numbers are not there. The yards of separation numbers are not there. Picking up yards after the catch, those numbers have gone down. He's having the worst rushing season of his career. He's looked out of shape. He's looked disinterested. I haven't liked the body language from a team captain. And while he's been a special, one-of-one, very unique player throughout his career, you look back at his NFL career, it's been one good year, one bad year, one good year, one bad year. And as a wide receiver, he has 1 year in which he has surpassed 1,000 receiving yards. And that came during his magical, fantastic, dominant 2021 first-team All-Pro season. But then he gets paid going into 2022, and since then, he has been a disappointment. And Ricky Pearsall in the last 3 games has been a little bit of a disappointment. Where has he been? He's really struggled to beat man coverage. One of the reasons why the Niners drafted him 31st overall, he was looked at as a man beater after the Niners in the Super Bowl against Kansas City with their receiving core struggled to beat man. This is not good. I get it. He got shot in the chest before the season. He came back from that injury and survived it, which was a miracle in a way, according to doctors. But in his last 3 games, since that good game against Tampa Bay, where he had that long touchdown, the 2 catches on that game-winning drive from Brock Purdy, 63 routes run, 3 targets, no catches, no yards, and 0 touchdowns. If the Niners missed on this pick, which I didn't like at the time, when there were really good players on the board, that is not good. Another change that I would make, and another player who I want to see get more run, is tight end Mason Pline. He's currently on the Niners practice squad. Really intrigued by the athlete. A former basketball player at Ferris State, 6'6", 254. He has a lot of ability and a lot of raw athleticism. Late bloomer as a football player because he was a basketball player in college, but the ability is there. When you look at him, he has an NFL tight end body. The Niners did not play him a lot in the preseason by design, in my opinion. They didn't want other teams to see his ability because they wanted to cut him and bring him back to the practice squad and not risk him signing with another team. It's time for the Niners to play Mason Pline. I want George Kittle to be a lifelong 49er. Doesn't make sense for number 85 to play in a different jersey. Final year of his contract is in 2025. He's still playing at an all-pro level, but you have to find a legitimate tight end too. Eric Saubert, take care. Braden Willis, wish I never knew you. Cam Latu, not even sure where he is, but he's a stiff as a former 3rd-round pick. Mason Pline, I'm very intrigued by the player, and I want to see more. Because if not, you have to draft a tight end too, in my opinion. Drake Nugent, play him at center over Jake Brendel. Jake Brendel has been one of the lowest graded centers in the National Football League all season. And I think that Drake Nugent might be a diamond in the rough as a UDFA who the Niners signed as an undrafted free agent following his career at Stanford and Michigan. Very experienced player, so he's not going to be overwhelmed from the jump. 39 starts in his college career, 24 at Stanford, 15 last year at Michigan. He was the starting center for a team that won a national championship. I like his technique. He understands angles as a blocker. He can pull and climb as a blocker and get to that second level. As an athlete, he ran just north of 5 seconds in his 40-yard dash in the pre-draft process. And in Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme, you have to understand those angles. You have to pull as a blocker in the run game. He's really tough. Not a lot of losses on tape. I like his anchor, a strong lower half. And so you are entering the final 5 games of your season. Jake Brendel is not a starting center for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. We've seen that 2 years in a row. And this year we have seen that he's been one of the worst centers in football. Time to give Drake Nugent a shot. I know he has to protect Brock Purdy, but if that's your center of the future, allow him to get some reps with Brock Purdy and vice versa. Do you have hope that the 49ers can make the playoffs? That's today's poll question. Type H for hope, C for cooked. Let me know and join the conversation down in the comment section right now. Plenty more to get to. Don't you dare go anywhere. Continue to hang out here with us. Why would you go anywhere else? We just have to tell you about our sponsor, Game Time. How cool is it to go to a Niners game? Whether it's in the past at Candlestick, whether it's right now at Levi's Stadium, being a part of an environment like that is special. And with the Game Time app, you can experience that. You can go to a Niners game at home. You can go to a Niners game on the road as the faithful always takes over the opposing stadium. With the Game Time app, you get the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. If you want to go to Niners Bears coming up on Sunday, plenty of tickets available. You can take a look at the game list options, or you can take a look at a couple of different views here. Bird's eye view of the stadium, the view from your seat right here where you get the price point as well. You can pay with Venmo. There is ticket insurance, flash deals, zone deals. It's also not just an app for sporting events. You can go to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and a whole lot more. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. What time is it? Game time. We continue to move forward with some players who I want to see more of during this evaluation phase for San Francisco. One player, we've seen a little bit of him the last 2 years, mostly in the preseason, sometimes on special teams. This year, he's starting to get some more snaps, but I want to see more of D. Winters. I think that D. Winters can be a player in this league, and this Niners team is a little bit thin at that linebacker spot. Devondre Campbell is an older player. He fit the win-now window for the Niners, and San Francisco signed him after Eric Kendricks decided to leave the Niners and not sign with them and team up with Mike Zimmer, the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Kendricks is washed. Campbell is washed. So see if D. Winters can actually produce for this team. I don't think that Campbell's going to be on this team next year. Shoot, I hope not. He's okay against the run, awful against the pass as an off-ball linebacker. So if D. Winters can be a linebacker for your club looking ahead and play alongside Fred Warner, maybe play alongside Dre Greenlaw if you bring him back. See what Tatum Bethune can do, a fellow rookie. It's time to get some of these young players on the field. And what I like about Winters, he has speed. He has physicality. He has fearlessness. He plays like his hair is on fire. Now, sometimes that aggression will take him out of the play. He'll over-pursue. He'll be overly aggressive. But I'll take that as compared to being scared. Trent Williams, over the last couple of weeks, has been dealing with an ankle injury. So I want to talk about him next because last week, he was on one of those scooters where you have your leg elevated. I don't see how he's getting close to playing. And he hasn't practiced this week as of this recording on Thursday, December 5th. And he's also dealing with a family tragedy. He lost twin boys. Catastrophic for him and his family. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Trent Williams and his wife. So, look, if he can't play, if he's not right, you need Trent Williams for next year. Play Jalen Moore if Williams is too injured. And Moore in the last 2 games, he's played really well at that left tackle spot. And this could be a key evaluation to see if he can be your backup left tackle next year. Some people are going to ask, can he play right tackle? He's not comfortable with doing that. Unfortunately, he can't swing over to that side unless they give him an entire offseason to get prepared for that. Niners drafted him out of Western Michigan a few years ago. He's been up and down this year, starting to put it together. Since week 12, has the 5th highest Pro Football Focus grade, 83.5, among all tackles, and he is the 11th highest graded offensive lineman in the sport. Evan Anderson, you know him probably because he wears that Guardian cap and he takes up a lot of real estate along the interior of this Niners defensive line. He's made some really good plays for San Francisco this year as an undrafted free agent out of Florida Atlantic. Really good athlete in high school. He could actually dunk way back in the day, even though he's north of 300 pounds. You see that athleticism on display with some of the short area quickness. He's solid against the run, solid against the pass, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just to bring back the play that he made, which helped win the game for San Francisco. That was their last win, by the way. Remember when the Buccaneers were driving down the field and the Niners were just collapsing? They were committing face mask penalties and personal foul penalties, and so the Buccaneers kept matriculating down the field. They got into that goal line situation. They tried to run the football, and Evan Anderson burst through the line. Huge hit on the running back that eventually led to a Buccaneers field goal, allowing Brock Purdy to drive down the field. And Jake Moody, after those 3 misses, connected on that game-winning field goal. That doesn't happen if Evan Anderson doesn't make that play. And so I don't think he's going to be a long-term starter, but I think that he can be a very good rotational defensive tackle, and that's why the Niners, as an undrafted free agent, gave him practice squad money after the NFL draft. I also want to see Sam Okuwanu play a little bit more. He's flashed at times this year, an older player who's been a journeyman up to this point. He's 26, 27 years old, but he can kind of serve in that defensive end, defensive tackle role like we've seen Yetur Gross-Matos play this year, Arden Key, Charles Omenihu, Jordan Willis in the past. I think that he can be a guy at defensive end and defensive tackle. So those players right there are players who I want to see more of for the remainder of the year, because you have to start evaluating those players. That's the key word for today's show. Evaluation and evaluating. You have to see if those players can be players for this team. So who do you want to see more of the rest of the way? I gave you my list. You give me your list right now. Cerebral Assassin with the $2 super chat. What's up, Chase and Chip? Cerebral, what is up, my brother? Thank you for that $2 super chat. Chip saying yo. We'll take a look at our super chat menu too, by the way. Love that profile picture. America! F yeah, with the Niners logo on the chest. Imagine if all soldiers could rep their football teams. That'd be kind of cool. Little wrinkle to the military uniform. All super chats get a shout out. Of course, include the American flag as well. Every $50 that we get, I'm chugging out of the Niner Cup. We have $2 in super chats right now, thanks to Cerebral Assassin. If we get $100 total, I'm doing 100 jumping jacks. If you send me a $100 Venmo, I'm giving you a 49ers Report hat, Chat Sports sunglasses, Chat Sports bottle opener, a Chat Sports pack. If you send me a $100 Venmo at Chase_Senior, of course, goes a long way in supporting our company movement. And then if we get the $200 total, I'm doing a beer boot here on the show. We will be doing a mailbag segment number 4, so get those questions in. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. That's hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. We've been hovering around 300 people watching live. Good to see that number being what it is, but we're only at 92 likes. Let's get some more people in here. You can help us do that by simply liking the video. Smash that thumbs up icon right now.
What we doing, baby? Let's go. Let's get it.
Let's get it. San Francisco. We're going to look ahead to segment number 2 right now and matriculate throughout our live program here. Joe Carmack, Samuel Crosby, Tom Brady 12, Chino, and D.I., all a part of the recent commenter club. D.I., I asked earlier, who do you think wins the college football national championship? D.I. says Georgia. I think Georgia's a little bit shaky this year. Not a believer in Carson Beck. They should have lost to Georgia Tech, by the way. Clemson, cooked. They're playing in the ACC championship game, but they are not good. That's where Chip went to school. I went to Temple University. Bad football program right now. I was there under Matt Rule, and it was a good football program. Richard Deere should play all the guys that aren't already starting. Could it be that much worse? Well, we know it's been pretty bad. All right. Coming up next here on the show. This is crazy. I am going to outline all of the reasons and all of the storylines for why this season has been a disaster for the San Francisco 49ers. And we're going to take a look at what's transpired. It's coming up right now. Don't go anywhere. Hey there, my name is Chase Senior. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report, the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube. I give you coverage and shows every single day. We also do live shows and watch parties. So be sure to hit that sub button to stay in the know with all things Niners. And here's what we have coming up. I'm going to outline all of the many reasons why this season here in 2024 has been a disaster for San Francisco, and we're going to take a look at everything that's transpired there has been a lot that's gone against this football team. And with that, I pop up today's poll question. How would you grade this Niners season so far? A, B, C, D, or F? That'll be the pinned comment on today's video, so scroll on down and let me know right here. Let's start here. Going into 2024, even after the Niners lost that Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco was Super Bowl favorites. They were looked at as a team that had a great opportunity to lift the Lombardi Trophy this upcoming February in New Orleans. And it has been a downhill, Jekyll and Hyde, frustrating, very difficult season for San Francisco, the entire organization, the players, the coaches, and this fan base. It has included 3 crushing NFC West losses in which the Niners have controlled those games. Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks. They've had big leads. They've had leads with under 2 minutes to go, and they've lost all 3 of those games. If the Niners won those games, we're sitting here looking at an 8-win ball club with 5 games left that has an opportunity to make it to the playoffs. But when you lose those games, it can unravel and spiral out of control very, very quickly. And now San Francisco has lost 3 games in a row. It started with that game against Seattle they should have won. They got dominated by the Green Bay Packers, 38-10, and then they lost in the snow to Buffalo on Sunday night, 35-10. You have injuries out of the wazoo, and now the playoffs are a pipe dream. The sequence of events for this team have also been nuts. It has truly been a season from hell for the 49ers, an unmitigated disaster. And it all started with that weird vibe training camp. And yes, the Brandon Ayuk contract dilemma was a part of that. It took forever to get this deal done. And then the Niners had to embark on training camp without an all-pro wide receiver, and the connection when he was on the field between him and Brock Purdy was off, and he wasn't in shape. He looked like crap to start the year. Then he has a great game against Arizona, and a few weeks later against Kansas City, suffers a horrific knee injury. The Niners gave him $76 million in guaranteed money, and we're not sure he's ever going to be the same player again. Brutal. Multiple ligament tears in that knee after that crunching hit against the Chiefs. Trent Williams, another all-pro player, another important player, left tackle, protecting the blind side for Brock Purdy, also was nowhere to be found all throughout training camp and in the preseason like Brandon Ayuk. So 2 of your best players did not join this team until week 1. He too had a contract standoff. Ricky Pearsall was shot in the chest before the season. And you know the Niners have had a crazy 2024 when this is the 3rd craziest story that's happened with this football team. The 2 crazier stories, we're about to get to those. Javon Hargrave, the Niners signed him prior to last year to a 4-year, $84 million contract. Last year he had 7 sacks. He was kind of average. Then early in the year, tore his triceps. Out for the season. Christian McCaffrey, one of the bright spots for this team last year for sure. You're thinking, is he going to be able to put together another fantastic season as the Madden cover athlete? The Madden curse hits. He deals with Achilles tendonitis, is lost for the entire training camp and preseason, does not play until the Niners come out of the bye week against the Buccaneers because he's dealing with Achilles tendonitis in both legs. And then he plays a really good game against the Buffalo Bills. It looks like the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year, who had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards last year, who was top 5 in MVP voting, was back. Freak play where he's about to take it to the crib, shoestring tackle, injures his knee, out for the season. This season has also turned very, very personal for San Francisco. I mentioned how Ricky Pearsall getting shot was the 3rd craziest story for this Niners team. He nearly died. Yet Charvarius Ward and Trent Williams have had to deal with unspeakable family tragedies. And our thoughts and prayers are with the Ward family and the Trent Williams family. And I couldn't believe that I was typing this out on X the other day. And you can give me a follow at Chase_Senior for more Niners news and content. But earlier this year, Charvarius Ward's 1-year-old daughter passed away. And then Trent Williams and his wife this week announced that they lost twin boys. One earlier in the pregnancy, and the other was born stillborn on November 24th. That is crushing That's absolutely heartbreaking for both players during what has been a challenging all-around season for San Francisco. So when all of this transpires, it's nearly impossible to win and overcome all of that. Draymond Green was on a podcast the other week, and he was talking about the dysfunction and the despair around the Philadelphia 76ers. And I know it's having to deal with life and football and basketball and football, but it comes to mind as something that makes a lot of sense. And you think about what the 76ers did this offseason. They signed Paul George to a max contract. They signed Tyrese Maxey to a max contract extension. They signed Joel Embiid. They went all in on those three players. Here we are in early December. They have played 6 minutes together as a team. And there's been so much drama around that club. And Draymond Green said, we were dealing with that last year. It is impossible to win when all of this extracurricular stuff is happening. All of this extracurricular stuff is happening for San Francisco, and they've had to deal with personal tragedies on top of a soul-crushing Super Bowl loss back in February, where the Niners as an organization are probably still kicking themselves wondering, how do we lose that game? And so when all of this goes down, it's almost impossible to win and overcome all of that. Now, coming up next, there are also football issues that have caused issues for San Francisco. Stay tuned for that part of this conversation, but let's get to our sponsor and pay our bills. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because if you want daily Niners shows that are informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice, lock us in, hit that sub button as we approach 152,000 subscribers. Prize Picks are our sponsor for today's program. Daily fantasy sports made easy, and the best daily fantasy sports app in the world. And it's the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. More than 10 million active members, billions of dollars handed out in awarded winnings, and it's daily fantasy sports made easy to the tune of you pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Right now, if you head to prizepicks.com/CLNS, you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. Great Thursday night matchup. Here's how the game works. Detroit, Green Bay, NFC North tilt. Jahmyr Gibbs, more than 68.5 rushing yards. Josh Jacobs, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Christian Watson, less than 44.5 receiving yards. We'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. So we continue to move forward and recap what has been a tumultuous season, and it's not even over yet. There are 5 games left. What else is going to go wrong? Let's go through what Niners players and coaches have said and what they said to Mike Silver, now of The Athletic, formerly of the San Francisco Chronicle, and I think this tells a pretty clear story here. Diamador Lenore, quote, all I hear nowadays is bad news. Kyle Juszczyk, quote, it's been rough. A 49ers assistant coach, day by day, it's been falling apart. How depressing is that? Imagine going to work where your company is just dealing with all of this stuff and you're free falling as a company or a business. Wouldn't be fun to go to work every day, especially not as a football player when there's that much pressure. Yes, you're making a lot of money, but that pressure can wear you thin. Tabor Pepper, the long snapper, quote, there have been a lot of roadblocks. All of those statements, very, very true. And what's been unfortunate for the Niners is that they've had so many team health issues. This has also been a consistent theme under head coach Kyle Shanahan. Every year since he took over in 2017, the Niners have been top 10 in injury rate. This year, they're well on their way to probably being the most injured team in the NFL. But last year, they were the 4th healthiest team in the NFL. Of course, you only got 1 year of that, and now you get more injury misfortune. And these injuries have been insane because the injuries have occurred to some of the best players. Brandon Ayuk, out for the year. Javon Hargrave, out for the year. Christian McCaffrey, out for the year. Troy Greenlaw has not played this year. Talanoa Hufanga has barely played this year. Nick Bosa, missing extended action. Deebo Samuel, in and out of the lineup, out of shape. George Kittle, he's missed time. Juwan Jennings, he's missed time. Brock Purdy, dealing with the shoulder injury. He missed that Green Bay game. Aaron Banks, starting left guard, out. Jordan Mason, high ankle sprain, injured reserve. Diamador Lenore, your best corner, also injured. As far as football issues go, execution's been a problem. The game of football has been a problem. Niners have been awful in the red zone. For a long while there, before the back-to-back losses to Green Bay and Buffalo, they were number 2 in yards per game. They were a top 10 scoring offense. And that's with them being 27th in touchdown red zone percentage. So when they make it inside the red zone, they've settled for way, way too many field goals. And how many one-score games have they lost? Those games could have been decided by scoring a touchdown instead of a field goal. What's pretty telling about this Niners team, they have not won a team they have not beaten a team, with a winning record this year. Some people might say, Chase, the Seahawks are now 7-5. They weren't a winning team with the winning record when the Niners beat them. And then they lost to them to start this 3-game losing skid. As far as the defense, it has not been good. Nick Sorensen is not cut out for the job. He can't be this team's defensive coordinator in 2025, and his lack of quality coaching has certainly showed this year. The special teams, they have been arguably the best or the worst special teams unit in the entire NFL. Breakdown after breakdown, mistake after mistake, miscue after miscue. It's been hard to watch. That third phase of the game has been inexcusably poor. The offensive line hasn't been able to run block like in seasons prior. Haven't been able to pass block like the last couple of years because San Francisco continues to not invest into that side of the ball. And then you see some of these players declining or some of these players not taking leaps. As far as the decline, Deebo Samuel has declined. He looks slow. He looks out of shape. He looks unmotivated. He looks like he's in a bad spot. Some of his Instagram stories that he's posted doesn't seem as though he's in a great mental spot, and that's translated to his play on the field. Has not brought it this year, and that's highly disappointing. 1, he's been a disappointment since the contract. 2, you'd expect him to step up with Brandon Ayuk out. He's looked nothing like a number 1 wide receiver. Not even close. Jawan Jennings is wide receiver 1 for this football team. Yet Deebo is paid like a wide receiver 1. Not playing like it. Kyle Shanahan, the coach. It's hard to coach with this many things happening, but he's also had a bad year. Bad play calling, bad execution, bad game management, bad player management, all around bad year for Shanahan. He's wearing it on his face. He looks tired, thin, and worn out. So, look, to round this out, it is hard to overcome all of this. If you were to have these issues with your business, in your personal life, think about how difficult that would be. That's what the Niners are dealing with in football ways. So can the Niners contend after this year? C for contend, O for over. Think about how ugly it was for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Can the Niners have a similar turnaround? I think so. All right, our Super Chat menu as we just got through segment number 2. All Super Chats will get a shout out. Every $50 total, I'm chugging. $100 total, I'm doing 100 jumping jacks. If anybody sends me a $100 Venmo, I'm sending you a Niners Report hat, Chat Sports sunglasses, and a Chat Sports bottle opener. And if we get to 200 total, I'm doing a beer boot. We're about to embark on segment number 3. Segment number 4 will be a mailbag. So if you have questions, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a Super Chat.
Get those questions in, baby. Hashtag 49ers. Only got a few in so far, so you got some you want to ask. Now's the time. Now's the chance to get on a show with over 150,000 subs.
Let's get it. Let's get it. KB Season making a good point. Need to draft an elite. I thought you said offensive line. KB Season. Need to draft an elite up-and-coming quarterback, even if we keep Brock. If Drew Aller comes out, that's the player who has like Josh Allen type of athletic attributes. He's going to be playing in the Big Ten championship game this Saturday, Penn State against Oregon. I do worry about his lack of success against ranked teams, but as far as size, athleticism, arm strength, I think he's very talented, and this quarterback class is pretty weak. Like, where would these quarterbacks rank in last year's class? Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, and Garrett Nussmeier. Shedeur Sanders, the number 1 QB in my 2025 class, might be QB 4 or 5 in last year's class. Not good. Not good. Get the running back from Boise State, Ashton Genty. Niners can't be drafting a running back mid-first round. Black mask. Brock needs to show his stuff these last 5 games. Yes, he does.
I see a few people just type in hashtag 49ers, but nothing else. You got to type it with a question.
Yeah, that's the point of a mailbag, right? You got to ask a question for a mailbag.
Like Samuel Crosby right there. Great question. Exactly how he did it. Hashtag 49ers asked a great question.
Put your sacks on the keyboard for our sack, our mailbag. What does he say? Drop our sacks and cool cloud coverage behind you, Chip. Look at that. Love some cotton candy clouds. If you're with me, type me. Beautiful city. Beautiful city. Great city. Blessed and thankful, as you said yesterday during the meeting. All right, segment number 3. We're going to preview this game against the Chicago Bears. As Caleb Williams coming to town. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, Week 14, coming up on Sunday. Let's preview this game right now. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and coming up, we are going to preview this Niners-Bears Week 14 matchup as Caleb Williams and the Bears make their way to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. Chicago has lost 6 games in a row. The Niners have lost 3 games in a row, and both of these teams are desperately trying to get back into the win column. This game set to kick off 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, December 8th. 1:25 p.m. out there in Santa Clara. The over-under for this game, 43.5. So the odds makers not expecting a lot of points. And for the first time since that Seahawks loss, the Niners are favorites in a ball game. They were underdogs against Green Bay, underdogs against Buffalo, but San Francisco giving 4 points to Chicago. We will be live for this game. Niners-Bears watch party. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for that, but also for year-round and daily coverage of the Niners. A pivotal, massive offseason coming up for this ball club. We're going to cover it every step of the way. And as you hit that sub button, also hit that bell icon. Turn on your notifications, therefore, when we go live, when we push out a show, you will be notified. So let's start here. This is a battle between 2 reeling teams right now. Can the Niners flush their 3 straight losses, 2 of which were as ugly as it gets in the National Football League? They go on the road. They play the Green Bay Packers. Brandon Allen was the starting quarterback. Multiple starters out. Still an embarrassing game for this Niners team, which at the time was fighting for their playoff lives. They didn't play like it. They missed 19 tackles. They were a revolving door on the defensive side of the football, and they coughed it up and turned it over 3 times. They lost that game 38-10. And then on the road against Buffalo, Sunday Night Football, the Bills flat out embarrassed the Niners. In those 2 games, it looked as though the Niners didn't want to get off the plane. They stepped outside, they noticed it was cold out, and they said, "Take me back to Northern California." So, look, can the Niners flush those 3 straight defeats? If they lose 4 in a row, my goodness, you could put the nail in the coffin for this ball club, and I already did that after they choked that game away against Seattle a couple of weeks ago. You think it's bad for the Niners, though? It's not much better for Chicago. The Bears have lost 6 games in a row, the last 3 of which were extremely winnable. In fact, you can make the argument they should have won those games. But Chicago, Matt Eberflus themselves. And then they fired their head coach and Matt Eberflus because of how poorly he managed those games at the end. It was football coaching, game management malpractice. And so Eberflus got fired on Black Friday. Chicago, one of the worst-run organizations in all of sports, they allowed Matt Eberflus after that Thanksgiving game in which the whole nation was watching him completely melt down and the Bears melt down. They let him address the media on Friday morning. He's like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready for San Francisco." And then he was fired mere few hours later. So Thomas Brown is now Chicago's interim head coach. He was the interim offensive coordinator a few weeks ago because Matt Eberflus had fired the offensive coordinator that he brought in prior to this year in Shane Waldron. a Sean McVay disciple who kind of got his coaching career started when he was coaching running backs at Wisconsin and coached a couple of really, really good running backs while at Wisconsin. You had Melvin Gordon and Jonathan Taylor who were there, a quick rising coach in the National Football League and a guy who can really command the room. Those 6 straight losses for the Bears. 18-15 loss against the Commanders. That was the Jaden Daniels Hail Mary game, and the Bears haven't been able to win a ball game since then. It's almost as if they have been cursed by the Hail Mary. They got dominated by the Arizona Cardinals on the road, 29-9. They only scored 3 points against the New England Patriots. They should have beaten the Green Bay Packers for the first time in a long time, but the game-winning field goal from short distance was blocked at the end of regulation. They had a heroic comeback against Minnesota at home, but then lost in overtime after Caleb Williams took a bad sack. And then they were down big early to the Detroit Lions. They came back and at least should have forced overtime. So in the last 3 games, look at how Chicago has fared against 3 of the best teams in the NFC. Green Bay Packers are a juggernaut right now. Minnesota Vikings are an elite team. The Detroit Lions, maybe the best team in all of football, and Chicago could have gone 3-0 against those squads. For the Niners, there is still a chance that San Francisco can make the NFL playoffs, even though they're 5-7, 2 games back of the NFC West lead. And so with that, the chances are very slim. We did some math here for the Niners' playoff chances. They have to get in by winning the division because the NFC North is going to get in 3 teams, the 3 teams that I just mentioned outside of Chicago. So the Cardinals have a 45% chance to win the NFC West, even though they lost to Seattle 2 weeks ago and are currently a game behind. Cardinals Seahawks coming your way again on Sunday. Massive game. The Seahawks have a 32.1% chance. They've won 3 games in a row. And the Rams have a 17.4% chance to make the playoffs. To win the division. And then the Niners have a 5.6% chance to win the NFC West. So an uphill battle, no doubt, for this football team. So with that, who you got? I'm going to get to some of my keys to the game, matchups to watch, and an in-depth look at Caleb Williams coming up. But let me know who you're rocking with. CHI for the Bears, SF for the 49ers. I'll give you my score prediction coming up here in just a bit. But first, let's get to our sponsor, our friends at Game Time. You have Conference Championship weekend coming up in college football. Anytime you're entering December, January football, the environments at some of these big football games are incredible, whether it's at the college level or the professional level. If you want to be a part of those environments, download the Game Time app, because with Game Time, you are guaranteed to get the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. One of my favorite features about this app that makes it better than the other ticketing apps in what is a very crowded and competitive marketplace, you can see the view from your seat before you buy. So you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. If you want to go to this game, Niners-Bears, coming up on Sunday, plenty of tickets available. And you have the list view here of the remaining games for San Francisco. They will play on Thursday Night Football against the Los Angeles Rams. So we'll be running it back with another watch party. And then this is the aerial view of the stadium at Levi's. You want to say, you know what? I want to sit at the 50-yard line. You can pop this up, and you can get those tickets right there. And then here is a view from your seat. So you get the price point and the viewpoint. So download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You can get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and more. We'll put all of that information down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Niners Report. All right, so a big story in this football game. San Francisco is going to be playing the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams, who is a really special and unique quarterback. In the pre-draft process, I was a little bit worried about some of the intangibles and lack of leadership. I think that his personality is a little bit weird. I don't love how sometimes he has that negative body language on the sideline. He sulks a little bit, and he can overcome those things. And partially he has that body language because he's playing for an abysmal organization, and things around him have really failed him. But when it comes down to the football player, when I scout Caleb Williams and when I scouted him in the pre-draft, this dude's special. He has ridiculous playmaking ability with his arm, with his legs, in structure, out of structure. He truly does make Patrick Mahomes plays at times where he can extend plays in the pocket with his feet, throw across his body, uncork some wild throws. He really puts a lot of velocity behind his throws. He's made some fine throws throughout his rookie campaign, and so he can complete any type of throw on the football field, and he can really drop it down or raise it up to multiple arm angles. And throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game, he has the propensity to make several wow plays that really make you sit back and say, that's why that dude was the number 1 overall pick. Now, one of his weaknesses, holds onto the ball for a very long time because he's always trying to make that big play. And so in turn, he takes a ton of sacks. But for him to have the success that he's had this year, I've been impressed by it because he's had to overcome a head coach who should have never been a head coach in this league, should have been fired prior to the year. He's now on his second offensive coordinator. His offensive line is one of the worst in the league, and he's playing for a bad organization. Caleb Williams this year has as many passing touchdowns as Jalen Hurts. He has more passing yards per game than Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray. He has a higher completion percentage than Trevor Lawrence. He has more passer rating games of north of 100 than Patrick Mahomes here in 2024, and he just set a rookie record, 212 passes and counting without throwing an interception. And so for him to be able to do all of that and produce at that level with no protection in front of him, he's on a second play caller, second head coach, toughest division in football, playing against the likes of the Packers, Vikings, and Lions, I give kudos to the kid. This year, the completion percentage is down. You want to see that number go up a little bit, 61.5%, below league average, but he's thrown for 2,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks, started off slow, picked it up, then went downhill again, and then over the last couple of games, he started to play well. Think about this. Led by a rookie quarterback, the Bears have been in games against the Packers, Vikings, and Lions. And you can make the argument they should have won, but his coach pissed down his leg in real time. Now, this 49ers defensive line and defense are down. And so Caleb Williams will be hard to contain and defend. You're going to have disciplined pass rush lanes. You can't give up on the play because Caleb Williams never gives up on the play. But if the Niners want to rack up some team sacks, they can do that against Caleb Williams because he holds onto the ball for a very long time. And so you knew I was going in this direction. And it's easy to see why if you just read the tea leaves and look at what has happened of late. My read on the Bears? Chicago is playing much better football than what their record indicates. And so I think they're going to win this football game, and I think they're playing much better ball right now than the Niners are, especially as of late. Now, you look at how the Bears stack up offensively and defensively all throughout this year. Offensively, the numbers are not pretty, but keep in mind, rookie quarterback, 2 different play callers, and a head coach who was the worst coach in the league. 23rd in points per game, 26th in yards per game, 32nd in yards per play, 29th on third downs, but number 3 in the red zone. The Niners wish they had that red zone touchdown scoring percentage of 66.6%. If that were the case, this season would be a lot different on that statistic alone for the Niners. Defensively, not a bad ball club. 9th in points per game at 20 even. 22nd in yards per game. 27th on yards per play. So they'll give up yards per game and on a play-by-play basis, but they don't give up a lot of points. Number 5 on third downs and the number 1 red zone scoring defense in the National Football League. Pretty well-coached team at all 3 levels. Matt Eberflus, a good defensive mind, just not a head coach in this league. As for San Francisco, their points per game have gone downhill after scoring 10 points in consecutive games. So right now they're 16th in points per game, not that far ahead of the Bears, 22.5. 7th in yards per game, 3rd in yards per play still, 7th on third downs. Oh boy, 27th in the red zone. That has been their Achilles heel this year. Defensively, Nick Sorensen, getting tired of it, man. 24th in points per game, 5th in yards per game, 7th in yards per play, 26th on third downs. Niners can't get off the field. And then 31st in the red zone. Teams are scoring in the red area nearly 71% of the time against this Niners defense. Nick Sorensen, get it together. My gosh. My keys to the game here. I have 5 of them. Brock Purdy is going to have to rise up if he's healthy. We'll see how that shoulder looks against Chicago, going up against a pretty damn good defense. And you've had a lot of moving parts around you at the skill position spots. And so Brock Purdy, you want to be paid $50 to $60 million. These last 5 games are an audition. If not, Niners might give you that Baker Mayfield contract. 3 years, $100 million, $33 million per. Niners going to have to contain Caleb Williams. He will want to create out of structure. He is going to try to buy time, use his feet to run around, to throw the ball downfield. He will try to run it. He's going to fake going to the sideline and try to cut it infield. When he does that, hit him in the ribs. Send a statement. The Bears also have a talented offense. DJ Moore, pretty good player. Keenan Allen, good player. Cole Kmet, good player. DeAndre Swift, status up in the air on the injury report for Chicago, but keep an eye on that. This Niners run game, does the approach change? You're without Christian McCaffrey. You're without Jordan Mason. So we'll see a heavy dose of Isaac Guerendo. Will Kyle Shanahan go pass happy? And is Brock Purdy's shoulder up to feeling that way? And then Kyle Shanahan, elevate your team with coaching. You're going up against an interim coach who's never been in the head coaching position. This is a Bears team that just fired Matt Eberflus. And you might be hurt, but now it's time to do your job as a coach and maximize your team and end this 3-game losing streak. As far as injuries go for San Francisco, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, looks as though they're not going to be able to play. And then Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason already out. Niners are thin. And right now their depth is being exposed. Predict the score. Bears on the road against the Niners at Levi's Stadium. Here is my score prediction. Niners aren't playing good right now. They haven't played well all year. They have been a sloppy team, undisciplined team. Players haven't executed. The coaching hasn't been there. And over the last 3 weeks, again, this is important because momentum is a thing. How have the Bears been playing? They should have beaten the Packers, Vikings, and they could have beaten the Lions. The Niners, on the other hand, choked against the Seahawks and have been flat out slapped in the face by the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills. So I'm going Bears 26, Niners 22. Saints man, $20 super chat. I've seen several reports that say Shanahan doesn't allow his quarterbacks to think for themselves. Is this true? Yes and no. He doesn't really allow quarterbacks to audible that much at the line of scrimmage. His thought process is don't audible at the line because the second or third read is built into that play. Here's the problem. The play calling hasn't been good enough from Shanahan, and the answers have not been there. The other thing is that the offensive line can't really change protections, and so teams know that. And then the Niners are forced to throw to the hot man, which is often short of the sticks, and that's why teams dial up pressure against the Niners. The other issue is how often teams are now playing man against this Niners offense instead of zone, and Brock Purdy's numbers are elite against zone. They're bad against man. All right, our Super Chat menu, we're up to $22 in Super Chats. If you want to get wacky on a Thursday, let's do it. Every $50 total, I'll chug. $100 total, I'll do 100 jumping jacks. If you want a 49ers Report hat, Venmo me at Chase_Senior. I'll give you a Chat Sports bottle opener and some Chat Sports shades as well if you want to support the show in a big-time way. And then $200 total, I'm doing a beer boot. It's up to you to decide. All right, mailbag time. It's coming up right now. First, I'm going to list the players who the Niners should build around, and then we'll take your questions. So use the hashtag 49ers or send in a Super Chat. That is your last opportunity to get involved with the show.
Y'all did a good job. Good job. Good amount of questions. But it's a Thirsty Thursday, baby. Who's going to get it going here?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, about to get into this. So, last chance. If you send in a Super Chat, you're guaranteed to get your question answered at the start of that portion of the show. Otherwise, just use hashtag 49ers. Good question. We'll get it up there. Easy money, just like that.
By the way, I did report some news a little bit earlier. I was told by a source that 49ers quarterbacks coach Brian Griese is a top target for the Michigan offensive coordinator role. Sharon Moore fired offensive coordinator Kirk Campbell on Tuesday. Of note, Griese was the starting quarterback on Michigan's national championship team in 1997. He's done an excellent job with Brock Purdy the last 3 years. Not sure if Griese has interest, but Michigan is very interested. So keep an eye on that. Put it out on my X page. It's popping off a little bit. 216,000 views. That is the report. Just wanted to check to see if I saw anything fresh on that. By the way, Nick Sorensen's defense has allowed 9 touchdowns on the last 9 red zone trips. That's very frustrating. All right. That got a laugh from Chip. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad. And myself and Chip, we've watched every play for the Niners this year. All right. Segment number 4 coming your way. Get those questions in as well. We'll answer those on the back half. Coming up on this edition of the San Francisco 49ers Report, I canvassed this roster. I put on my general manager hat, and I'm going to go through all of the players who the Niners should build around, and then we'll take your questions for a little bit of a mailbag on the back half of the show. Before we dive in, are you forever faithful? Are you forever a member of the Niner gang? Are you red and gold until you're dead and cold? If you still love the Niners, despite what has been a tough and arduous season, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Let's begin on the offensive side of the football. These players, in my opinion, are keepers on offense, and San Francisco should build around these players. I know Brock Purdy has had an up and down year, and his numbers over the last calendar year have started to go down a little bit. I'm still a believer in the player. I think with more time, he can improve and get better. I do think that he has some very elite traits: timing, processing, accuracy, throwing with touch, good leadership skills, good mobility to create plays with his legs, but to buy time to make throws. I've seen what Brock Purdy's been able to do if you give him an offseason with a full semblance of his weaponry, and he's not having to deal with all of this drama, all of these moving parts. I do think Purdy can get back on track. Is he worth $50 to $60 million? I'm not sure if I'm willing to go to that level, considering what I've seen this season, because those players, in my opinion, should elevate those around you. And Brock Purdy hasn't been able to do that to the fullest extent for large portions of this year. But I think that Brock Purdy can be the future franchise quarterback for this football team. I know Christian McCaffrey has had a nightmarish season, bilateral Achilles tendonitis, and the PCL sprain to his knee. I am banking on Christian McCaffrey, though, to put the work in, to care, to have the right approach, to love the game of football, because this dude lives and breathes football. If you saw his Instagram post, he is so broken up about that season-ending injury, but he vows to come back better. Also, he's a keeper on offense because the Niners just signed him to a contract extension, which runs through 2027. So he has to be on this team. The running back depth, I like it. I think Jordan Mason's a player. I like the physicality that he brings to the position. I think Kyle Shanahan has to do a better job of mixing up some of the carries. Isaac Guerendo, the Niners traded up for him in the 4th round. He's 6 feet, 220 pounds, so he runs a 4.3. And we're going to get an extended look at him the final 5 games of the year, and I'm a believer in the player. I really liked him in the pre-draft. George Kittle, starting to get a little bit longer in the tooth. Final year of his contract is in 2025. That's a player who I'm willing to keep, though, because George Kittle the last 2 years is still playing at an all-pro level, and this year, I think he's the best tight end in football. Blocking, receiving, picking up yards after the catch, the heartbeat of this organization. I'm still building my football team around number 85. Juwan Jennings got signed to a contract extension through next year. That's a player who embodies everything that the Niners are about. Toughness, physicality, player development, not complaining, playing the game the right way, embracing the role as a blocker and just as a football player. I think the Niners should extend Juwan Jennings. And he's clutch on the money downs and in crucial moments. Trent Williams, Niners signed him to a contract extension. They gave him guaranteed money. He's still playing at a top 10 tackle level. Dominick Puni looks to be a keeper at right guard. He could be a perennial Pro Bowler with what I've witnessed this year. And then Brandon Ayuk. I'm not sure he's ever going to be the same player that he was last year because of that knee injury, multiple ligaments torn, but you did sign him to that contract extension, and so the Niners hope and pray he's going to be able to be that guy, and I hope that he can come back because he's a really special player. The jury is still out on Ricky Pearsall, who over his last 3 games has 0 catches for 0 yards. That's a problem. And Jacob Cowing, the 4th-round pick, back from April as well. But I've seen some moments from these players who I think that they can become something. My keepers on the defensive side of the ball. Nick Bosa. This defense has given up 9 touchdowns on 9 straight red zone trips. This defense has been putrid without Nick Bosa. And it really started to unravel after he got hurt against Seattle. Seattle was averaging around 3 yards per play when Nick Bosa was playing in that game. It went north of 6 once he went out, and both of Seattle's touchdowns were when Bosa was on the sideline. When he went out, he was number 1 in the NFL in pressures. He was tied for 4th in sacks. Excellent player. He's only 27. Takes care of his body. Cares. He's a leader, a team captain. He's a dog. I'm still building around Nick Bosa. Fred Warner, my man's been playing with a broken ankle since week 5. Prior to that injury, he was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He gets healthy. Linebackers can age well. I think Fred Warner can age well. And him and George Kittle, I just can't see how 85 or 54 ever rocks a different jersey. Deommodore Lenoir, Niners signed him to that contract extension a couple of weeks ago. A young player on this team who is really good. Renardo Green, he's been getting some starts outside at corner. He has really good ball skills. I think Lenoir Green, that is your future outside corner tandem. And then Malik Mustapha. Every single game, he's laying a monster hit. That dude plays the game with reckless abandon, and I absolutely love it. Now, the Niners do have depth concerns at defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker, corner, safety. And by looking at my list, the offense is in a much better spot as compared to the defense. You lock down left guard, center, right tackle, that Niners offense next year can be really good if Kyle Shanahan finds that groove once again. And I don't think he's lost it as a coach, okay? On the defensive side of the ball, Jair Brown was good last year. He's been terrible this year. I think that's a byproduct of bad coaching. He misses Steve Wilkes. I said that earlier this week. Steve Wilkes had a defensive back background. Jair Brown played very, very well. And so I think with better coaching, he can be a member and a keeper on this team as well. So I'm intrigued by Jair Brown, Evan Anderson as a rotational defensive tackle, and D. Winters because he plays that linebacker position with so much speed and some instincts. He plays like his hair is on fire. And I think that that plays. So chime in. Who else would you include on this list? What other players do you view as keepers on this 49ers team? Drop me a name or names down in the comments section right now. As you go down there, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so right now. We'll also be live for our Niners-Bears watch party on Sunday. Can't wait for it. The best place to experience the Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. Our sponsor for today's show, our friends at Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. You choose more or less on a projected player stat lines, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Ladies and gentlemen, it's easy and exciting daily fantasy sports. Pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks, and run your game. As for some Thursday night football action, awesome game between the Lions and the Packers. This is how the game works, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, more than 68.5 rushing yards. Josh Jacobs, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Christian Watson, less than 44.5 receiving yards. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Pick 2 or more players, choose more or less. More than 10 million active members, billions of dollars handed out in awarded winnings. All right, now let's start to answer your questions here. We'll run through these. AK Frost 907, should we bring back Robert Saleh? Yes. I mentioned it earlier. This Niners defense stinks, and a sign of a bad defense. communication and scheme breakdowns, lack of player development, bad on third downs, bad in the red zone. The Niners are allowing teams to score in the red area at a 70% clip. 9 for 9 in the last 9 red zone trips? Nick Sorensen's not cut out for the job. The Niners also need an injection of energy and leadership on that sideline. Bring back Robert Saleh. He's also a really good coach. Saints, man. I've seen several reports that say Shanahan doesn't allow his quarterbacks to think for themselves. Is this true? So it's a little bit of a myth, but partially true. So Kyle Shanahan allows the quarterback to make a change at the line of scrimmage, but Brock Purdy doesn't have a ton of autonomy to do that because the thought process from Shanahan is that he has answers built within the play. The issue is that his play calls haven't been good enough and the answers haven't been there. And then the other issue is sometimes the offensive line can't change their protection. And so on a 3rd and long, teams will just blitz because the Niners are going to go to the hot route that's going to be short of the sticks, and the opposition knows that. Samuel Crosby, do you think that Brock Purdy is our quarterback of the future? I like Brock Purdy. I don't think that he's in that upper echelon tier with like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I think he's more in like that Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts type of area. But you can win in that area. I think that he has some elite traits. Timing, accuracy, precision, processing. I think those are elite traits that make up for his lack of size, but I do worry about the lack of size, the lack of arm strength, and the hand size is a little bit of an issue. We saw that on Sunday Night Football last week against Buffalo, and Josh Allen, 6'5", 240, making freakish plays in the snow, throwing through the blizzard. Brock Purdy was a check-down merchant. Cerebral assassin, what's your take on the Kirk Cousins rumors? I personally would not go after Kirk Cousins. He's aging. He has no mobility. He is 1-4 in his playoff career. He consistently comes up small in the biggest of games. Brock Purdy's 4-1 in his playoff career. And he has played some clutch football when it's really mattered. I just think that Kirk Cousins, the best days are behind him. And he'd also cost a lot of money. I know that Kyle Shanahan really likes him, but that's not the answer. That's not the quarterback who gets you over the top. And he might get benched in Atlanta after they gave him a 2-year, $100 million contract. Hugo De Jesus. Keep Kyle, fire all of the coaching staff, hire Robert Saleh, build up the offensive line and defensive line. I think we'll be good next year. What do you think? Get rid of Juice and use a dual back system. All right, so Nick Sorensen, gone as defensive coordinator. Brian Schneider, gone as special teams coordinator. I'm fine with Chris Forrester as the offensive line coach. Bobby Turner, running backs coach. Chris Kosarek, defensive line coach. Johnny Holland, linebackers coach. Daniel Bullock, secondary coach. The Niners have a pretty good coaching staff, not in marquee spots. Nick Sorensen stinks. Brian Schneider stinks. I'm sorry. The results are what they are. They're not good enough. Yes, you have to build up the offensive line and defensive line, have to get better in the trenches. I do think the Niners will be good next year. I would get rid of Kyle Juszczyk. You don't need to pay a fullback all that much money. Black Mask, what's the word on Fred Warner? Still taking those shots in his foot. Still playing with that broken ankle. Still playing with that broken ankle. And as of now, he's missed one game in his entire career. Iron Man. Ashton Smith. Hey, Chase, who do you think the Niners should target in the draft? I think the biggest need for San Francisco in the first round is either an offensive tackle or defensive end. You build your football team that way, and outside of quarterback, those might be the two most important positions. So those are the positions that I'm looking at. Don't forget to hit that sub button. Thanks for rocking with us here on the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. Hugo, what if Brock Purdy called an audible and it worked? Whopper. Yeah. Look, quarterbacks do that all the time. I mean, I grew up with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. They're all making checks at the line. And nowadays, quarterbacks don't really do that because everything is so watered down. Super Chat menu. All Super Chats get a shout out. Every $50 total, we're chugging 100 total, 100 jumping jacks, $100 Venmo. I'm sending you a hat at Chase_Senior. $200 beer boot Last call for Super Chats.
Oh, Hugo was trying to ask. He just corrected himself in the chat. What if Purdy called an audible and it worked, but he did it without permission? He just went rogue.
Oh, Kyle Shanahan probably would not be happy about that.
No.
We know that Kyle Shanahan likes to run things his way.
Oh, Bernie Kosar shout out. From south to west, one of the greatest audible callers of all time. A legend. Joji asks, what will it take to steal Jim Schwartz from Cleveland to become the Niners DC?
Kevin Stefanski gets fired.
Yeah, not likely that Schwartz leaves Cleveland, in my opinion. Don't trade Ward, keep him. Isn't he expiring? Pretty sure he's on an expiring deal. So there's no trading him, he'll just walk. Just makes sense. You got Green, you got Lenore. Don't need to pay another guy. Bill Belichick for head coach. He interviewed for the North Carolina head coaching
North
position.
Carolina head coaching job.
Nuts.
Unbelievable to me. Seems strange.
Is that why Shanahan won't play Dobbs? Because he goes rogue. I don't think Dobbs... I think Dobbs running around, that's not going rogue. It's him making plays, baby. I wish Shanahan would have played him. If they have to play another backup, I hope they play him, but he'll probably just play Brandon Allen. Gonna lose Ward outpriced. Yeah, Ward won't be back. More likely than not.
All right, we're going to hop on out of here. Niners, Bears coming up on Sunday. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for supporting the show. A good one, as always. Always good to hang out with the Niner gang here. Plenty of coverage to come throughout the weekend. Live again on Sunday. Live tomorrow with Krug. Plenty of content to come over the next few days. So, for Chip, I'm Chase. For the Niner gang, we're out. Enjoy your Thursday night and a great Thursday night game between Green Bay and Detroit.